Hi, everybody. It's your old pal Chuck. And wrapping up our look at the Wave 2 of Combiner Wars, we're going to take a look at Voyager class Motormaster, and I figured it's Wave 1 mold mate Optimus Prime. We're starting off in truck mode so we can show off some of the differences there. Right off the bat, you should notice a few different details. Starting at the top here, we actually have different wind vanes. The Motormaster actually has these little flaps instead of this molded part. Windshields are basically the same, and then moving down, it's a whole different grill section right up front there. Even this lower section here, different different. The lights are different. Whole little tow hooks and stuff. A lot of great detail. Now, if we come around to the sides, um, believe it or not, there's actually a whole bunch of differences there too. These side panels, which you would might fold down and form part of the arms in robot mode, these are actually different. Now, personally, maybe that was a little bit of a waste. Unfortunately, though, in terms of painting here, there is a difference as well, and I think Optimus Prime comes out a little bit more ahead as he has more of the side windows painted than Motormaster. He just has that paint swat, purple swatch, and it's pretty much bare. But then again, it's bare on Optimus Prime that they only really did the front here and that bit of the side. Unfortunately, that's a bit of a waste. But other than that, we come around to the back, and weapon storage is very similar, but it's just how the weapons come together are different. First, you have Optimus Prime had these two very rustic cannons, and unfortunately, I think this is one of the problems I have with both figures, is that both sets of weapons, are a little too movie-ish for me. I mean, with Optimus Prime, these look like weapons built out of engine parts. This one, at least, does look like the traditional ion cannon. This one it really just looks like a pistol of sorts. I mean, separate they're fine but they are designed to actually peg together like so, and in doing so, you get this very long-nosed rifle, and it just looks very lanky. Maybe if there was a way to flip up the handle here, it wouldn't look so bad. There are ports at the top here and here, and what's great about that is you can go ahead and plug in other weapons. I like to use the aerial bot blasters. That actually makes this combined weapon look a lot better. So we're going to put that off to the side. Motormasters, um, his weapons combine a little bit differently. Oops, sorry, I just nudged the camera. I do apologize about that. Um, Basically, he comes with a gun and a sword that peg together um, using tabs on the side of the blaster here, and then there's notches on the side of the sword. Again, these look very movie-esque. Not as bad as Prime's, but it doesn't grab that classic Motormaster feel. I do like, though, that he did come with a handgun of sorts, whereas most of the Stunticons, as we've seen, have come with melee weapons. The sword is kind of cool, but I would have liked something that looked more like the traditional Motormaster sword. Now, to combine them, there's actually a hole here in the back of the blaster, and with the longer edge of the sword going towards the handle of the blaster, you just want to slide that in, and you get this giant sword for Menasor. Now, I do want to mention, I tried, I looked, I was hoping, but unfortunately there is no way to combine the axe chest plate of Blackjack to this handle to give it more of a hilt and, more of a super-like sword for Menasor. But that's enough for the vehicle modes. We're going to pause and we're going to just jump right into robot mode. And here we are in robot mode. Aside from the obvious differences in that they have different heads, there is a lot of different molding and detail here on the chest. As you can see, Optimus Prime pretty much has his traditional windshield chest with a more stylized form of his ab section, which would normally be the front and the grill of the cab. Now it's just this metallic plate. Motormaster, this is all new here, this chest and area, and his is more like you can see it coming more from the truck. Also, I want to mention that the transformation is exactly the same. The only difference here is that on Motormaster, when you have these little plates from the top of the truck mode, you just want to fold them back flush on the shoulder. Now, I do want to stress that in photos, both robots, versions of this mold, tend to have an issue where the arms look a little bit longer than they are. People want to say that's like a gorilla type of thing. And maybe it looks like that, but it's not really the case. And Motormaster, because his grill parts are actually a little smaller than Prime's, his arms do look a little better in photos, and I guess you can say that's a plus for this version of the mold. From the legs down, it's actually the exact same uh, bits. It's just that different details are painted to bring them out differently. As you can see on Prime, he has his little vents there that are painted. On Motormaster, they're not. But these inner thigh pieces and the kneecaps are all painted up differently. So really, it is the same figure, but um, it gives you two different looks. So now we're going to pause and go into torso mode. And here we have torso mode. And transformation, again, absolutely the same. A few things I want to point out is just because of the darker colors here on Menasor, I notice I do have a harder time sometimes lining up these little shin panels that are supposed to cover up the um, robot legs from in the front and help secure that hip knee connection. Um, but what's interesting is the details inside the little back coverings that are where the head and chest store are very different. You also here have a different design. This one looks more like a Energon Optimus Prime with the matrix exposed, and a lot of people say this chest looks a lot like movie Galvatron from Age of Extinction, and I kind of see it. It looks kind of interesting. Overall, I also want to mention that in terms of the ratchet joints and stuff, everything seems to be a little bit tighter on Motormaster. I don't know if that's just because I spent more time with Prime, but I did notice first out of the box a different feel, which I think is pretty good and helps support the combined limbs, which we're going to get to right now. And basically, here's what everybody's been waiting for since we got drag strip back in Wave 1. Uh, Motormaster, all combined with the Stunticons to form Menasor. Um, yes, there are issues with the torso, the hips kind of wide. I do want to mention that once you have the legs on, the the weight kind of pulls the hips in those in between spaces between the ratchet joints, so it does stand rather well. Also, I want to mention combining the limbs, the springs in the shoulders and leg and feet are just a little bit tighter. And I have had issues where the arms from robot mode of Motormaster have actually unpegged while attaching these. Perfectly fine. Once you peg them back in, they're great. Now, I do have Blackjack here as the chest piece, and some people have complained that Blackjack doesn't peg on that securely. What I've noticed is if you peg them on after you have all the limbs on, and as you're moving the limbs, if you're careful to not just manhand it, it stays on rather well. Like I can pick this up and shake it, and Blackjack won't fall off. Now, personally, I'm going to take them off right now because my preferred look really is with this chest piece closed. And that's because, in my opinion, this looks closer to the original drone car that Motormaster came with. That was the original piece of the vintage G1 Menasor. The sword can peg in very easily in the handholds in either hand. I tend to prefer having the peg from the laser gun facing back. You can, of course, also, if you want, disconnect the weapons, have them hold the laser gun, but that does seem a lot smaller than it should be. But yeah, so let's pause. I'm going to scramble these up for you so you can get a look at how it um, Menasor looks with the limbs switched around. Okay, and basically all I really did was bring um, breakdown and off-road up and bring drag strip and dead end down. One thing I do want to mention that I'm sure you can probably notice here is I thought it was just for merging with the aerial bots, but whenever drag strip is going to be used as a leg, you have to flip up that rear spoiler section, or else the vehicle will just be too long. Also, I kind of noticed that breakdown seems maybe just a little short as an arm. That could just be my eyes because he has a thicker back section than a lot of the other cars. I think bringing up the feet and using it as that secondary peg does help. But yeah, so this is basically Menasor. I think it's a great figure. Obviously, you're going to go out and get it if you've already have drag strip and are going for the other Stunticons. You're going to get Motormaster to make Menasor. But why don't we just take a moment and look at another combination? Here is Optimus Prime. Now, you're probably wondering why am I showing it with the Stunticons like this? Well, due to some leaked computer listings, um, images shown found online and in the back of Off-Road's comic book, we basically know that the four Stunticons are going to be retooled into Autobots. Sunstreaker, Sideswipe, Ironhide, and Mirage. And Blackjack, as we already have seen due to some leaked packaging images, is going to be repainted and retooled as Hot Rod. And they are going to be the combiner limbs for Optimus Prime. Now, these images have also shown a white Optimus Prime, and this mode basically called Omega Prime. Personally, I think that's just a little bit of a swerve to cover up that, yes, this Wave 1 figure is meant to go with these figures, and that the name Omega Prime and the white Ultra Prime head and stuff is just, you know, to keep the surprise in, because it feels kind of weird to have Ultra Prime and then Omega Prime, and it's just a repaint. Now, the legs, I'm not too sure about, but from the photos, we've seen Breakdown as Sunstreaker forming the right arm, and Dragstrip as Mirage forming the left arm. I'm just guessing with the legs since we haven't seen a waist down shot. I pretty much can guarantee this is going to be it's going to be reversed just to fool around with me. In terms of weapons and what have you, I don't know. We sort of seen this, well, at least this rear section of the gun in play. I mean, hopefully it's a new weapon or something, but chances are it'll just be this combined blaster. And again, that plays into, if you remember on Optimus Prime's box, he has a different coloring than the Stunticons, aerial bots, and from what we've seen, the Protector bots in the borders. So who knows? Or maybe this will be Ultra Prime, and then he'll get super angry, turn white, and become Omega Prime, or something crazy like that. Either way, I figured I'd just show this off now so we can have a little visual preview of what might be coming. Definitely, Combiner Wars Wave 2 is just as good, if not better than Wave 1. I think I kind of tend to favor the cars a little bit more than the aerial bots, just because the transformations were a bit more unique and overall the joints were a little tighter. But whether you prefer Menasor over Superion, that's up to you. This is your all pal Chuck for Ultra, Omega, Prime, maybe, and Menasor. We'll see you next time.